Hey everybody, I'm Tony Beers. This is
Jay.
Russ.
And this is Movie Grades, and in this Movie Grades we're going to be talking about the movie It, 2017. Okay, Jay, tell us what you thought.
I really enjoyed this movie. I mean, I did watch the Tim Curry 1990 miniseries with Ross back, I don't know how many years ago, but...
Oh, so you guys watched it together?
Yes.
When it originally aired?
No, we didn't even know each other back in 1990. Oh. And we both really enjoyed it. I think we really liked Tim Curry as Pennywise. And I think Bill Skarsgård did a very job well done of this new incarnation of Pennywise the Dancing Clown. I really like the first scene because it's a very iconic scene, and it was very similar. The scene when the boat went down the sewer drain, it was very similar to the original. Yes, it was different. Some lines were the same, some lines were different, but it was I really like the comparison to the original and to this one, especially that scene. What I really enjoyed was that each of the kids, so there was a group of kids, kind of like your nerdy kids, and then
they called themselves the Losers Club.
The Losers Club, and then you had your bullies. I really liked each character. I got to see Finn Wolfhard. He plays Richie in this movie. And he plays Mike in Stranger Things. So it was interesting to see how his character was in this movie versus Stranger Things. But in this movie, it's like it's like very different. I mean, it's very he's vulgar. He's very vulgar. Yeah. He's the one who picks on in his nerd group.
Yeah,
like he says like one of the lines. I think it was one of the lines he says like about. Eddie's mom's vagina exploding, about how the sink in Bev's house blew up with all blood.
So it shows the actor's range too, that he could play something completely different from what he usually plays.
I like Pennywise. One of the scenes that I really liked was where Bev is in the sewers by herself, and you see the Jack in the Box go off. And then this gate comes down, and he dances, and his face is so straight. It's he's just grinning at her, it's he's just going back and forth doing his dance. I love that. I love that scene. That is so great, and I just love, how he shapeshifts into these other kids' fears. Mike's was the hands of his dead parents, and Stanley's was that painting. Bev was
her dad was basically.
Oh, her dad was her fear. That's
just
true.
her fear. Yeah.
Eddie's was an infestation.
Yeah. Well, he called that guy that chased him he was a leper.
A leper, which is an infestation. I don't know what Richie's. Well, I guess Richie's was clowns.
Was clowns, yeah.
And of course Georgie was Bill's fear because he went missing. Oh, Ben.
Well, that's he was the fat kid.
Yeah, what was his fear?
I wasn't very sure about that. That's why I wrote it down. I don't think he had a fear.
Yeah, I'm sure he did.
Well, I know that with Ben, he was thinking about that kid that lost his head.
Ben was doing all that research, and I wonder if that provoked fear in him to get it to come after him, or Pennywise.
Could have been.
Or it, yeah.
I remember they had that scene where he saw that Easter egg on the steps or whatever, and this kid came after it.
Yeah.
That's pretty freaky.
Oh yeah, I remember that now in the library. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the interesting, somebody brought up that I noticed, if you're paying close enough attention in the library scene, everyone behind the kid is just frozen in place. Nobody's moving.
Yeah, I just thought either they were frozen in place or they were just too involved in what they were doing, reading or something.
No, even the librarian was just standing there frozen in place too. So.
I didn't even notice that.
Well, remember he does have he can manipulate mind control because remember that's how Henry kills his father. Remember they're on the TV and he's going they're singing that song and they're kill him, do it, kill him, and even Pennywise finally pops up on there. And
I always assumed that the majority of his powers were hallucinatory or
Yeah,
if that's
illusion.
what-
Yeah, illusion. Yeah,
yeah.
he makes
That's,
illusion.
so like everything that they thought they saw, they weren't really. It wasn't really there.
No,
so.
yeah. I mean, what do you think about the whole Pennywise telling you about?
The key scene they need to begin with in the movie to show off Pennywise's personality, I actually liked a lot, because when he's talking to Georgie, he has sort of this stranger danger vibe to him. And what I really liked about this scene was not only do they show like Pennywise's personality, but I loved the acting of Georgie's actor in that part, because he, like, you can see like he mentally goes from thinking, hey, this guy's kind of funny, until he suddenly has a sense of dread, like he knows he has to get away. And for even a kid to pull off that kind of acting, like to transition, very subtle and very well done, I thought. Another thing I really liked about this movie, this is actually something that I thought this movie did right that Wonder Woman did not. I was complaining about how in the Wonder Woman movie they really didn't get down the sensibilities of the time the characters were in down that well, like the way that like they spoke to her and everything. That's not how they would have done that. It was more like talking to her like it was 20 years ago at earliest. In this movie, no, they're talking to each other the way people back in that time period would have spoken to each other. They're talking just. Even like the way they did in Poltergeist, it's just very natural. It's the way people would actually talk to each other in that time, and that really adds a lot of realism to it, and something that especially our age can relate to a lot. Like,
Well, because the 80s.
Yes, and just in fact, that's something that even I think the miniseries back in the late 80s did right when showing the late 50s, early 60s. It's the way people would have actually talked to each other, and I think that just adds it's a real touch, and some people don't always notice it, but those that will appreciate it's just a great tip-off, and I really appreciated that.
Yeah, I agree with that a lot.
So yes, I very much enjoyed those touches, and the thing is, I'll tell you, I thought the kids in both versions, honestly, did a phenomenal job. I mean, I really bought their performances. Again, it didn't feel like it was forced, like they were saying dialogue. It felt like they were actually just talking the way people talk, just very natural and everything. And it made it easier for me to invest in it.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, the way the mannerisms and the way they talk and stuff. Personally, I didn't act like these kids at all, really. But I knew kids liked them, so that's where I can really relate to it, because I was like, okay, I know kids, especially like Richie. I knew a bunch of Richie kids. That was really well done. I thought the kids' acting was well done. I said this on my Facebook page. I said that this movie is a cross for me is a cross between Nightmare on Elm Street series and
Stand By Me.
Me.
I didn't see that at all, so
that's the way I said it. For Stand By Me, the way the kids related to each other and the way they bonded and stuff. That's the Stand By Me, and of course Pennywise is kind of like Freddy from Nightmare on Elm Street, feeding off the fears and stuff. I just didn't see this movie quite as classic as what Stand By Me seemed to me, and I definitely didn't see it as scary as the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. But then again, I am an older person. I haven't been scared by a movie since I was a teenager, to be honest with you.
I haven't been scared by movies since I was about 7 or 8.
So, they're just, I guess, just been desensitized since all the other horror movies that I've seen.
I don't think it's just that, but I mean, it's makeup and actors and everything, and that's how I look at it. I mean, I'm not saying you can't find a performance chilling or creepy, but the thing is, you just know that that's the vibe that the directors and actors are going for, as opposed to something that can genuinely scare you when it's not, a movie. That's the way I look at it.
Right. I mean, there's a couple times in this movie that I might have got startled by so as they call them, the jump scares and stuff like that, but I wasn't scared. But I am a person, and I told you guys this earlier, that as a kid, I did have a fear of clowns. So if I did see this when I was younger, this movie would terrify me. It's just something a fear that I overcame. That's the word I was looking for. And I didn't feel that what's his name, Skarsgård? Is it first Bill Skarsgård? I don't think he was that good as Pennywise. In my opinion, I preferred Tim Curry. I think he was a better Pennywise as far as the acting goes. I mean, he was decent. He just didn't, like you're talking about the early scene with Georgie. If I was a kid and I saw a clown in the sewer, I would be out of there in seconds. I wouldn't stick around to be, oh, who are you? And all that talk to
but when
him
you
like
have the
that.
mentality of a 6-year-old or however old he was, I feel like you probably would talk to. I know they say don't talk to strangers.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
And then he
Georgie, meet
introduced
Pennywise.
himself, so,
Meet Georgie, meet Pennywise. Pennywise, meet Georgie. Now we're friends, or now we're not strangers anymore. Kids don't have first of all, they have a very short attention span, and some kids are just not bright. Yeah. Oh yeah, okay. Let's talk about special effects. I think the special effects were very well done.
That brings me to my first complaint. They were good for the most part, but like the CGI on Pennywise, I thought was kind of bad. Like you brought up the point of him, his mouth opening and out with all the teeth. I thought that was kind of bad myself.
Yeah, like
for
that.
the
What
CGI.
about at the end there, where he was hypnotized or putting Beverly under his spell to try to get her to feed on her fears, when he opens up like his mouth opens in 3 sections, and then you see those lights.
It's when he was transforming that the CGI wasn't very good. When he was finished the transformation, then it looked good.
What about the CGI of the painting that Stan saw? What about that one?
I liked that. I thought that was pretty good.
And the headless boy that
was good too. I liked that. Said for the most part it was good. It's just certain scenes it just wasn't that good.
Regarding the CGI, I actually see where both of you are coming from. I was in the mentality. I mean, I semi agree with Tony, but the thing is, I like usually when they combine traditional special effects with CGI.
Yeah.
And the thing is, while I think they did it pretty well, it could have been a little bit better, but it didn't take away enough for me to be like, oh, this just isn't working for me. Like, it didn't take away enough, in my opinion, because everything else, the acting and the directing was so solid. It's one of those cases where, like, I have to nitpick it when everything else doesn't seem to be working, but since everything else was so well executed, it's like, it kind of reminds me of how in Lord of the Rings, like, they combined it so seamlessly that it worked so perfectly. Did it work as seamlessly here as in Lord of the Rings? No, but they didn't put that level of effort into it, but I was willing to let it slide a few times where it could have looked a little bit better, because sometimes they got it right, a few times they didn't, but again, I just kind of give it a pass because it worked well enough. That's how I see it.
So overall, the movie, like the story and the plot and that stuff, do you think it worked well,
Well, this is where I'm actually going to get to the comparison that a lot of people have been attempting to make. Here's where what the bottom line comes down to. A lot of people are saying, so which do you think was better, the TV miniseries or the movie? And my response is, it's like comparing apples to oranges. The reason I say that is because, first of all, you're not only talking about a TV miniseries compared to a movie, you're comparing a TV miniseries from almost 30 years ago on a public family broadcasting network, no less, one of the major ones, to a movie, and so all those things make it almost impossible to compare. I mean, I liked both, in all honesty. First of all, the TV miniseries had Tim Curry. He's one of the greatest actors that's currently alive, as far as I'm concerned. So you had one of the best actors of our time imaginable in the role of Pennywise, and to top it off, you're working with TV limitations, and that affects the budget with the script, with the directing, You have commercials in the middle of it. And it's not like you can really get away with stuff like showing like people getting killed, or you can use a lot of profanity or show a lot of things. They had so many restrictions that they had to work with. And I mean, as I was trying to explain to Tony earlier, I know some reviewers were claiming, well, but they gave Tim Curry had so much more personality in the movie. Well, consider that the majority of what you were allowed to do on TV back in the day was talk, okay? I mean, even in your animated shows, if you blew up a robot or something, you were lucky to even get away with that. You know, you were lucky to do that, but most of the time, all characters could do was talk to each other, and so that was one of the things where Tim Curry had the advantage of talking more, because that's what TV allowed him to do, whereas in this one, they let the vibe of it, they let, you know, the freedom of what they were in the movie do more, rather than just having Bill Skarsgård talk constantly. And so for what the movie thing was, and even people were complaining how they hated the second half of it with the adult actors. Again, we're talking late 80s, we're talking TV miniseries on a prime time for a TV network. You can only do so much. So for what they had to work with, I think they did a great job. With what Bill Skarsgård and the rest of the crew had to work with, I think they did a great job here too. Plus 30 years later, different, you know, sensibilities, a different time they're looking at and everything. I think both did it fantastic with what they had to work with. That's my genuine opinion. And I liked, you know, the direction that Bill Skarsgård took it. I think he did a great job with that stranger danger type feel for the time and everything. He may not have said as much as Tim Curry, but he didn't need to. A lot of it was conveyed through his actions and everything, and I think he did great. So yeah, I mean, I thought both were done fantastic for you know, what they had to work with. So I'm not going to say I thought one was better than the other. They were both great. I thought they were both, you know, fantastic.
And like I said, we don't know what's going to happen with part 2, so
True.
we can't really compare them the adult versions yet. And do remember, they actually planned this accordingly. It was 27 years, just like in the book, that he comes back every 20 years to haunt the town of Derry. I'm not really going to compare them either, because like I says, you know, probably like Russ says, it's probably apples and oranges. They're two different Titans here, so, you know, different entities, but still both very well done.
Yeah, I'd like to say that, you know, I thought it was very... Well, you mentioned this. It was actually 27, 30, whatever years later. 27. So I think that's pretty interesting, because when the original miniseries came out, I was the same age as those kids. You know, I was about 12, 13. So that's interesting to me, and that I'm the age of the old adults were now. So that's
True.
I think that's kind of interesting, and so that also made me able to relate to these kids better, because I was like, that was how old I was back then. So you know, I thought that was kind of cool. Another thing I thought was interesting was the bullies. I thought that these bullies were, in my opinion, scarier than Pennywise, because they were psychopaths.
Yeah,
basically.
they were supposed to give him personality. Like like Henry was supposed to get personality, but I think the reason why they did.
I think they did.
Well, he had personality, but he was supposed to be. He was supposed to be a more relatable character. Like people were supposed to care about him more. But I think they wanted to keep that out, because they wanted to make this kid like you hate him. They wanted to make him so vulgar and so violent. They didn't Keating.
I think basically they wanted to take the character like there was no turning back for this guy. Like the minute he kills his father, you can't go.
Not even when he kills his father. When he first does that, when he's carving into Ben, you know, and just keep going with that. Yeah, the killing of his father, that was like
point of no return.
That was the point. Yeah, that was like the cherry. That was like the cherry on top. That was it. It's like, but it doesn't matter. He died. He was killed anyways, because he fell down that well.
Yeah.
So, but I guess we'll find out what happens to the other two boys, and I guess we'll see what happens to them. Maybe they will see them as adults, because Patrick and Henry are gone, and then there's the other two. And also another thing. Let's talk about the adults again. Actually, the adults don't remember the one scene where he's carving.
Yeah.
You know, Henry. and a normal
What?
adult would have saw that pass by and would have
I think that
would have
was.
stopped and like done something. But the thing is,
I think that was
because-
Pennywise.
Yeah,
using
so do
his
I.
powers.
it's either Pennywise. It is Pennywise using his powers because
Yeah.
every 27 years he manipulates the town, if not the whole nation, as I've heard. So, so the parents, or parents, adults
The
in
adults.
general, like don't care. Like, and that's
Yeah.
how Pennywise manipulates everything.
But
Yeah.
actually one thing I wanted to mention about that, and I'm glad you brought it up. I also like the way they showed in both versions. They showed about the adults looking the other way. In the original version, they showed that one guy that just kind of went back into his house. In this one, it's like people just put up those missing posters, but don't really seem to follow it much on. So like, yeah, it's there.
Because it's
They
all
didn't look
illusion.
for it.
Think about it. You don't think, oh, 26 years, next year 27 years. Oh shit, we better
Well, they didn't.
we better start evacuating dairy. I think when it leaves, it like says like you gotta stay in this town, or you know what, I don't know.
Or they just don't think much of it, you know.
Yeah, they forget, or everybody forgets after he's been there for a year.
I thought it was interesting to go back to the bully, though. Is I heard an interesting theory that the reason why the kids didn't kill Pennywise and he's still alive is because he's feeding off of the bully that's down in the well, Henry. So that could be too. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Interesting.
But, see, the parents didn't make that connection. Like every 27 years, something bad happens.
Not everyone would. It's
Well,
Yeah.
I'm sure some historians would in the town.
Well,
though.
yes, but the thing is, you also have to understand, the reason we're making that connection is because of the perspective in which the director is showing it to us
Right.
as something that's important to the story. But your average everyday Joe isn't necessarily going to be considering that.
Right.
That's
And we'll see what happens in the sequel because we'll see
Chapter
if they forget, like if they forget at first, like about it, and then they start remembering.
I think that's
what
way
happened
up in the book.
That's because remember Beverly was fed on her. She started forgetting stuff. I think what's happening is they might forget about what's happening in 1988 or 1999, whatever it was, between 88 and 89. I think what's happening is they will start forgetting,
Right.
you know, these events, and then 27 years later, they'll remember. They'll start piecing things together. It's
Ben
like,
will probably
Ben will be the one.
because he's the one keeping track of all
I
this
adore
stuff.
that kid. I adore him.
Patrick, you know, I was looking at him. I saw the dark long hair, and I thought to myself that he looked like Kylo Ren to me. That's who I saw when I looked at him. I was like, this is Kylo Ren when he was a kid, being a bully and stuff like that. He's definitely going to the dark side here.
I'm gonna have to give it an A+. My reasoning is because, yeah, I might have had a few minor nitpicks, but the thing is, I'm not gonna lie. This is one of those movies I went in saying, it could be either way, and it really impressed me. And usually that's not something that I like to make one of my best, but most of the movies this year have, impressed me a little bit, but not much. This one, I was blown away by how well it was done, so definitely an A+ on my end.
I'm gonna give it. I'll give it like an A minus area. I really enjoyed it a lot. I think it was really well done. Like I said, I still think Bill Skarsgård did really. I enjoyed his Pennywise and everything that revolved around him. And like I said, I like the kids. Especially Rishi. I mean the other kids are cool too. I liked scenes, like their fear scenes, and the CGI I think was I think it worked. I like that dance he did, it was good. I liked the scene where the kids were floating. Unlike Russ, I went in with high expectations and I got what I came to see, I even said, I'm not a person who's big into the horror genre, but since I saw that 1990 miniseries a few years back with Russ, I was like, yeah, I just want to see this just to see how, if it's going to be cheesy, if it's going to be funny. And a bunch of our coworkers says they really enjoyed it. They said it was supposed to be more, I mean, I felt it was supposed to be more funny than horrific because I just feel like, because, you're dealing with a clown for one, and I mean, it probably could have been a lot more horrifying if they really went deeper in the book, but I feel like they had to still keep it more friendly for audiences because there could have been a lot of things they could have done that could have been much more horrifying, which I'm sure there's more horrifying scenes in the book. I really enjoyed it a lot, and I'm actually excited for part 2, or chapter 2, whatever you want to call it. The next one, the sequel, the continuation, whatever you want to call it. What about you, Tony?
Yeah, I liked it. I'm again going to be the downer of the group, the more pessimistic one. I didn't like it as much as what you guys did. I just thought it was okay, basically. But there was a lot that I did like about it. Like I said, the biggest thing for me was the kids, kid actors, and the kids' bond that they had. Like I said, I thought it was similar to Stand By Me. And you guys didn't want to compare this with the miniseries, but I'm going to have to do it and say that I liked Tim Curry's Pennywise a lot better than this one, in my opinion. So yeah, that's what dragged it down for me was Pennywise himself. I just didn't like him. It's hard to explain. Otherwise, I thought it was pretty good. So I'll have to give this. I think a B minus probably. Maybe a C plus. I'll be generous and go with a B minus. That's it. The more that I think about it, I think the more that I'm gonna like it. So I'm Tony Bears.
Russ.
Jay.
And we'll see you next time. This video is sponsored by the Crazy Kings of Toys. Check them out for all your toy needs and find out why they are so crazy. Find them on eBay, Bricklink, and Facebook. Links are in the description. For more Toxic Pop, visit our website at toxicpop1.wixsite.com/toxicpop. Email us at toxicpop1@gmail.com. And check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/toxicpop1 and Instagram at instagram.com/wearetoxicpop. Links are in the description.